Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our 7 o'clock p.m. session for City Council on August 19th. And I'll ask our city clerk to please call the roll.
Ms. Moon Reynolds.
Here.
Ms. Sanchez Jones.
Here.
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Here.
Ms. White Boyd.
Here.
Mr. Volleson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Cobb.
Here.
And Mayor is absent tonight.
Thank you. And a quorum is present. Tonight's invocation, if you'll please stand and join me, will be delivered by Reverend Kevin Kinsey, pastor of Central Church of the Brethren, and I'll follow by leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear members of the Roanoke City Council, Vice Mayor Cobb, Ms. Trish White Boyd, Mr. Peter Volleson, Ms. Stephanie Moon Reynolds, Mr. Bev Fitzpatrick, and Ms. Vivian Sanchez Jones. I bid you welcome from Central Church of the Brethren and the Roanoke Reparations Group. I am honored to be here this evening to pray and to give you blessings. I invite all who are present in person and virtually to take a posture of comfort for this moment. I give thanks that each of you who represents this city have responded to a deep responsibility and love to serve the constituents to the best of your abilities and your own belief systems and passions. You navigate turbulent and deeply passionate perspectives with dignity and honor as best as you are able. You hear complaints, suffer personal attacks, and even have people question your ability or dedication to the needs and directions that this city is going in. I am grateful for your time, your patience, and your perseverance as you serve this great city. May you, in the words of my tradition, give glory to the divine as you know it and name it, and serve in the best interest of your neighbor's good, even those neighbors that might speak different languages than your own, the neighbors who behave or believe differently than you, the neighbors who complain about every little thing, the neighbors who remind you of why you took your position in the first place, the neighbors who challenge you, and those who lift you up. I also speak these same words to those who are listening. May our words, our thoughts, our actions, and even our hearts recognize the inherent human dignity of each of our neighbors. And may we also teach the same to the generations below and above us. Thank you for this time to bless and to give thanks to each of you. Thank you for your service and for your love of this city and its constituency. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, welcome to everybody, and at this time I'll ask Councilmember Volleson to certify our closed meeting.
I move with respect to any closed meeting just concluded that each member of City Council in attendance certify to the best of his or her knowledge that only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act and only such public business matters as were identified in any motion by which any closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered by the members of council in attendance.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
I need a second.
Oh, second.
Second.
Thank you, Peter.
Second.
Thank you. Now,
All right. Ms. Moon.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones.
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Ms. White Boyd.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
And Vice Mayor Cobb.
aye. Thank you all. Item 14 on our agenda today is presentations and acknowledgements. We have none this evening. Item 15 is public hearing. Number 1 is the proposal of the City of Roanoke to amend the Roanoke Charter of 1952 to remove the responsibility for the appointment of the city's Director of Real Estate Valuation from the city manager to city council. And there is one measure, a resolution.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
A resolution petitioning the 2025 session of the General Assembly to amend the existing Roanoke Charter of 1952 as amended in order to allow for the appointment of the City of Roanoke's Director of Real Estate Valuation by City Council.
Thank you. I'll recognize our city attorney if you have any comments related to this.
Just real quickly, Mr. Vice Mayor, we will hold a public hearing, take public input. This is the process to go about amending our charter. Then it will go forward to the General Assembly this year. We will work with our legislative liaison, who we've engaged to move this matter forward. I think that it'll be successful. After this, we do have the code amendments, and we feel rather comfortable with proposing the charter change and then moving the code amendments thereafter to be more quickly adopted. We think that this is a sensible and reasonable approach.
Thank you. Right, at this time, I'll open the public hearing. And Madam Clerk, do we have any citizens wishing to be heard on this?
No, we do not.
Okay, thank you. I will close the public hearing. Any comments by my colleagues on council? All right. Madam Clerk, I'll ask you to please call the roll.
All right. Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones? Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Ms. White Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
And Vice Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the resolution passes. Thank you. Item 16 is other business. Item 1 is an amendment of City Code Section 22.3-2 definitions, Article 1, General, Chapter 22.3, Pensions and Retirement, Section 32 to 37, Appointment, and Section 32-37.1, General Powers, Division 2, Assessment of Real Estate generally, Article 2, Real Estate Taxes generally, Chapter 32, Taxation, Code of the City of Roanoke, 1979, as amended. And we have one measure and ordinance.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance amending and reordaining Section 22.3-2 definitions, Article 1, General Chapter 22.3, Pensions and Retirement, Code of the City of Roanoke, 1979, as amended, Section 32-37, Appointment, and Section 32-37.1, General Powers, Division 2, Assessment of Real Estate generally, Article 2, Real Estate Taxes generally, Chapter 32, Taxation, Code of the City of Roanoke, 1979, as amended, to remove the appointment of the Director of Real Estate Valuation from the city manager and reinstate the appointment of such officer by City Council, and amend certain sections of the City Code necessitated by such changes, establishing an effective date and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any discussion by council? All right, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones? Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Ms. White Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
And Vice Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the ordinance passes. Item 17 is the hearing of citizens upon public matters. The City Council sets this time as a priority for citizens to be heard. If deemed appropriate, matters will be referred to the city manager for a response, recommendation, or report to the council. And Madam Clerk, do we have citizens signed up to speak tonight?
Yes, we do. We
Right,
have
if you would
approximately
call
7.
The first one and then the second one so they can be ready.
Sure. The first speaker, Thomas Robinson, and the second will be Rafiq McNamara.
He's not here today.
Oh, he's not here. But then we will call Richard Rosero.
Yeah, Mr. Robinson, come on up.
The first one is Thomas Robinson.
And I believe everyone has 3 minutes
Yes,
tonight, is
3
that correct?
minutes.
Okay, thank you.
For those of you who don't know me, I've spoken before City Council before. My name is Thomas Robinson. I'm an ex-con. I served 43 consecutive years in the worst prisons this country has to offer. I've been out 5 years. I worked every day. I got off parole early. I worked with Reset. I worked with kids. I've done so much, as much as I could do with the city and still work, I've tried to do and volunteered. And it's made me whole. It's really helped with my rehabilitation, everything. I mean, I recommend it for every ex-con ever at any time. When the city welcomes you, it means something. And I was welcomed by Reset. They brought me in. But for 3.5 years, I presented a program of mine that I believe will work for gun and gang violence. I think it'll stop the violence. I think it's the only way to stop it, and it starts with the streets. It starts going into, I've spoke before this council before. I was asked by the mayor to come to speak, and I spoke. Virtually the same thing I'm getting ready to say, and was ignored. I read something recently that said that people listen and comprehend based on their view of you. And maybe that's why nobody listened. But my program involved getting ex-cons, going into the jails, the prisons, going into the streets, getting the shot callers, the gang leaders, getting guys like myself that I can talk to any of them. I've been there, done that. You know, and getting guys like myself to go in and starts with them to change this mentality. They're the ones giving the orders. You know, the young people, they're just disassociate with the violence and the punishment and what they're doing. But if it's given to them, if they're educated and they know, they only see one perspective. And if we can educate the shot callers and the people coming out who have committed violent crimes and you know, been there and done that, so to speak, their voices resonate. Well, I've sent my programs to everybody. Mr. Cobb, I've spoken with several times. He's got my program. The sheriff's got my program. The mayor, Lloyd Merchant, and it's been ignored. And it's been ignored all along. And now last week, I read about GVI. This program, I don't know how much money they've been given or what kind of money was it. I said from the beginning, I'm not a grant writer. I don't do it for money. I would do it free. They said you got to have a budget. You got to have fun. I'll do it for free, and then you tell me what it's worth, or you give me the resources as I go along, as you see fit. That's all I asked, and I was ignored all along, ignored by everybody. And I kept working, and I just said, well, you know, maybe the city's not ready to go to the streets. But now here we're going to the streets. The police have brought 2 individuals with me this week. One of them was down 40 years, one of them was down 19, one of them was a skinhead. These guys aren't bad guys. They're ready to help. They've changed their lives around. But, I mean, they can bring them to me, you know, and I can give them money. I paid one of them's rent. I bought one of them a bag. He didn't have a bag to stay in the mission. They stole his shoes. He needed a bag. But, you know, if we don't work together, it's not going to happen. And we're not working together. Listen, the sheriff, the police, they're not working together. They look like they're working together. They're not working together. Virginia Cares, TAP, they don't work together.
Thank you,
They
Mr.
don't work
Robinson.
together. I've talked to all of them.
Thank you.
Everybody knows what type of grant. They want to say, hey,
Mr. Robinson.
I don't have a grant.
Mr. Robinson, thank you. Okay,
I'm sorry, man.
appreciate
I
it.
got
No,
carried away.
you're passionate, and I
understand
appreciate that.
You know, I mean, it's
Thank
time
you.
to listen.
Thank you.
For coming forward.
Yeah. Mr. Rosario, welcome.
Good evening. My name is Richard Rosario. I came here to talk to you tonight about a meeting that was held on August 15th with the Old Southwest community and Ram House. If you are not familiar with Ram House, that's Roanoke Area Ministries. They are at 824 Campbell. They do amazing work in the community. They are a day shelter for the homeless. They help provide food for the food insecure. They are a plethora of financial resources to people who need them and are in need. They came to meet with us of the Southwest community, Old Southwest community, in regards to them moving to 410 Elm Avenue. When they get there, they're going to do about $4 million in renovations. They want to build a refrigerated and freezer unit on site. They will have to be giving up their service that they provide now where they help the food insecure due to zoning. So they're going to distribute some of this food that they're storing with this new unit to other food pantries and missions in the area. They are also going to provide transportation services for some of the homeless to help get them IDs, documentation, go to the other mission when they close at 4 p.m., things of that nature. I'm here to you today because in this meeting, they have omitted several things to some of the members in the community that I find very troublesome. They've done zero impact studies on what this is going to have in our neighborhood as far as traffic, foot or otherwise. We are 4 blocks at that property, or about 4 city blocks from Highland Park Elementary, which they had zero communication with about that meeting. Highland Park had no representative there to speak on their behalf. So with all that being said, as a member of that community and knowing the health of that community as it currently sits with Wasena Bridge being closed and all the overflow traffic that we're seeing come through our neighborhood now to try to escape downtown and bypass Franklin, Elm, Jefferson, the main roads, because you can't go across Wasena Bridge to go into Grandin anymore. I think this is just very ill-planned and very badly timed at this moment. I think that Ram House has not inspired any confidence in myself or other members of the community having done their due diligence in what this is going to bring to our neighborhood. And I implore the city to think of ways or avenues that we can be proactive to this instead of reactive. Because, in my opinion, it's just setting the neighborhood up for a far larger impact than anyone has taken into consideration. So that's what I'd like to present to you.
Thank you, Mr. Rosario.
Our next 2 speakers, Emily Kate Copenhaver and Keely Meadows.
Welcome.
Good evening, Vice Mayor, Council. I have been working with a couple of friends in the Roanoke Valley to make sense of what's going on in this conflict that we have in the Middle East, and to see what's our duty and what are we being called to do here. Because I reject the idea that this is something that's happening overseas and not here. I reject any ideas that there's nothing we can do to help. And so that's what we're here to do, is figure out where's that bridge. And so something that we've been asking a lot of folks on the dais is just to meet with some local organizers, also local Palestinians. This time is kind of a rough time for a lot of healthcare workers. A lot of them are working second shift, especially like a lot of public aid workers, policemen, firefighters, all of those folks working second shift. They can't come down here and they can't give their statements. So we've been, in lieu of being able to meet outside of these hours, we have some statements to read. So this is from a nurse here in Roanoke. Hello, my name is Will Johns, and I'm a healthcare provider speaking out for the people of Gaza. The continued assault of civilians in Gaza is condemned globally, and it's time that Roanoke adds its support for it to end. At this point in the conflict, when there are no hospitals in Gaza to care for the ever-growing number of wounded and the increasing number of innocent civilians killed through sniper fire, I, as a healthcare provider, cannot remain silent. The situation needs to stop, and it's time for the Star City to become a beacon of peace and hope by advocating for a permanent ceasefire. I know we do a lot of work with refugees, but our movement is trying to make Gaza a place where people don't have to flee, a place where they can stay, and a place where people can stay at home, where they have lived for many years, far before the Nakba started. So in America, there are 175 cities who have put this to a vote and put a resolution on the books. 139 of them passed. So I was kind of thinking, what do those cities have that we don't? Surely they don't have a council that cares more than ours, because I've seen a lot of caring from this council. Surely they're not smarter than our council. Surely they don't have a better resolve. I've seen tremendous resolve from everyone here. So what is it? What is it that these cities have? Harrisonburg, Charlottesville, and Virginia, they're not afraid of Dillon. They're not afraid of Logan. Why are we so afraid? What's holding us back there? Greensboro, Boone, Carrboro, Durham, North Carolina, all of these places, what do they have that we don't?
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, so I didn't write a speech today, and I'm kind of glad that I didn't. So when I arrived here today, I had Vivian Sanchez come up to me and ask a few questions about why we are doing this and why we've been coming to council. I answered that I would like y'all to pass a ceasefire resolution. She asked why. What would that do? That would show support for Palestinians. That would show that you understand what's happening in the Middle East. It would show support, again, for all these people who have been trying for months to get you to pass this resolution. There are 139 cities that have passed a resolution. In March of 2022, you passed a resolution supporting Ukraine, literally just for the message of supporting Ukraine. But you won't do that for Palestine. It literally makes no sense. You told me, well, we have to look at both sides. Both sides.
Ma'am,
Now, that's enough.
that's enough. Thank you. All right, next speaker.
I wouldn't be clapping for that, folks. That's not.
That's inappropriate. It's inappropriate.
All right, the next speaker, Irene Malachowski and Danny Clausen.
I'm Irene Malachowski from 2208 Jefferson Street in Roanoke. I always get nervous when I come up here, but thank you for the opportunity to speak. When I was at the Planning Commission meeting, I had asked a question about how can we know, like what percentage of housing was going to be affordable so that we meet the needs for affordable housing. And I was told at the meeting that they weren't obligated to give any answers, so I'm coming to City Council to ask the same question. Because when the Planning Commission asked Mr. Chittum how he was going to meet the need for affordable housing, he suggested that there would be government incentives and it would be voluntary. And I kind of feel that doesn't have enough teeth to make the amount of houses that we need and what's being built, that we get the right number of affordable housing units. And I can only give an example that right across the street from where I live, I believe that apartment complex was fairly affordable. And I think the average rent I looked up from this study was maybe $800 to $1,100 in Roanoke. But when someone bought that complex and they redid it, the rent started at $1,400. So the people that lived there, they aren't there anymore. I missed a little guy with his flamingos on his yard.
I know
at any
exactly what
rate,
you're talking
it's
about.
and when you drive around, we have beautiful apartments that are going up, and they all say luxury. And I feel like if we're going to have apartments built, a certain percentage of them, whatever that percentage is that we need for affordable housing, that should be included in these big complexes. So the study from Virginia Tech that was done in 2021 on affordable housing, although it said that it was limited in time and scope, the results were that the housing cost burden among renters' income, and the gap analysis suggests that low income may be more significant driver of housing cost burdens and the availability of housing, and that the Roanoke market has a healthy vacancy rate that should result in a unit churn that allows households to find new units as life circumstances change. However, there's a mismatch between rental units and the size of units and the affordability. So I'm sure you all know this, but I don't know how this wide zoning program, if it doesn't have specifics, how are we going to guarantee that it meets the needs of our community? And that's just my concern.
Thank you very much. Good questions. Welcome.
Hello, friends. I am speaking tonight in favor of the zoning amendments. There's been a lot of disinformation here around this information. Some retired leaders of our community are really working hard to spread that disinformation, which is very disappointing to me. And so I wanted to come up here tonight not only to thank the City Council for your leadership on this issue, for being responsive to the calls for housing that have been happening for years here. What most people don't understand is that, and this is for the record for people who are watching, what most people don't understand is that this has been a years-long process to get to this point. I remember my first meeting with Keith Holland about this at Belmont Church long before these meetings in September. They were gathering comments for this back in 2021. And so what people don't understand is that this is incredibly evidence-based, that this has been vetted, and it's actually being done in response to the homeless service organization's calls, pleading and begging for more housing units in the city. What people don't understand is that we have federal vouchers to house our unhoused community in this city. We actually have the money and the resources to get a roof over their heads, but there are no roofs to be had. And exactly what this rezoning will do will allow us to get people into housings, to use those federal and state vouchers, use those outside funds to bring money into our community and pay landlords and owners to be able to house these individuals. I get really confused when people get against these rezoning amendments because those are the same people that are complaining about the unhoused on our streets. Those are the same people that were at the Ram House meeting. A display of disrespect that I have never seen in my 20-plus years of civic engagement. People are not listening. You tell them the answer to their question, and they call you a liar back to your face, even though there are 30, 40, 50-page documents to demonstrate the truth of that statement, of that answer that you're be giving. So my question isn't so much to City Council, because I'm so proud of the work that you're doing, and I'm so grateful for the work that you're doing, and I hope more people come out and say that. My question is to the people that keep complaining about congestion and unhoused people in their community. Well, you can't have it both ways. Do you want to deal with congestion and have no congestion on your street and accept that unhoused people are going to be in your neighborhoods? Or do you want to take care of housing and the unhoused? Because if you want to take care of that, this is the way to do it. It's something that the dozens of professionals in this community have been asking for years. Thank you, City Council, for listening.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, do we have other speakers?
No other speakers.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. All right, well, thanks to everyone.
Did you sign up online?
I did, yeah.
We'll get it when I go back to the office, if you
Okay.
will allow.
Yeah, if you signed up online, if you could give your name to the clerk, or just
Yes.
come up and introduce yourself and.
Right now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. My name is Warren Fry. I live at 32 14th Street in Hurt Park. Proud to be a Roanoke resident. And I work with the Southwest Virginia Coalition for Palestine. You've seen me here a couple times before. And Joe I remember you, Vice Mayor Joe Cobb, back from the days when we got to call you Reverend.
Marginal arts.
That's right.
That's right.
So we roll deep.
We did.
And thank you for, Joe Cobb, coming to our docuseries a couple weeks back. I had the privilege of hosting one of those about a town called Jenin, which suffered a massacre very similar on a much smaller scale to what's happening in Gaza. And I was really struck by Reverend Kevin Kinsey's invocation, and a couple of things that he said stood out to me. What is a great city? What does that mean? How is that defined? I think that bravery defines a city, more than its size or its economic output. And a city can be a voice in the wilderness. A city can take a moral stand, and 139 cities have already done that, and I would be very proud if Roanoke did that too. He also mentioned something about dignity and humanity for our neighbors. And I think as much as we love and respect our neighbors from all walks of life and all countries here in Roanoke, and we're very proud of our open arms for our immigrants, why should that stop at the American border? Why should that stop at Virginia's border? Why can't that be extended to the globe? So why pass a ceasefire resolution? It's a moral imperative. It doesn't matter who it is being massacred. It really doesn't at all. We need to stand up and be counted as Roanokers as having taken this stand. Self-criticism, being critical of ourselves, of our party, of our nation, of our military, is the essence of democracy. If we can't stand back and look at ourselves and say, hey, maybe we've gone too far, maybe this is too much support for an ally, then what are we doing? So what kind of city do we want to be? We just kind of paddle with the flow? Is this not our issue? I think it's very much our issue. I think that we are grassroots. Our city is like a vine, is like a bit more than that. We're small, right? But we're big. We have a big heart. So I think we can be a proud city that has a global reach. And I want you to imagine, if you'll give me just 10 more seconds,
Sure.
What if this was a U.S. ally who was suffering this massacre? Mexico, Canada, and there was a much larger force that was imposing this massacre upon them. We wouldn't hesitate, as we did with Ukraine, to draw a line in the sand and say no more. So that's why I'm urging you to put a vote for an immediate, lasting, permanent ceasefire resolution on the docket for the City Council. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Fry. Well, thank you all for coming tonight. There being no further business set forth to come before the council, this council meeting is adjourned. Thank you.